The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, mirroring the storm inside me. Barnaby, a 44-year-old software developer, had always considered myself a logical man, a man of code and reason. But reason seemed to have abandoned me the moment I found the text messages. My wife, Isolde, a vibrant and successful marketing executive, had always been the extrovert in our relationship, the social butterfly. I loved that about her. I admired her drive, her ambition. We had been married for 15 years, a seemingly solid foundation built on love, trust, and mutual respect, or so I thought. The messages were on her work phone, the one she rarely used at home, a forgotten device carelessly left on the kitchen counter. Curiosity, or perhaps a subconscious suspicion, led me to pick it up. The screen lit up, displaying a notification from Jasper. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Hotel Monaco, room 302. My blood ran cold. Jasper. The name was vaguely familiar. I scrolled through the conversation, each message a dagger twisting in my gut. The playful banter, the suggestive emojis, the explicit details of their rendezvous. It was undeniable. Isolde was having an affair, the world tilted on its axis. The kitchen, once a comforting space filled with the aroma of Isolde's cooking and our shared laughter, now felt like a crime scene. My hands trembled as I read on, piecing together the puzzle of their betrayal. Jasper was a client, a charming and influential businessman from out of town. He had been in Seattle for a series of meetings with Isolde's company over the past few months. I remembered Isolde mentioning him, praising his wit and business acumen. I had even met him once at a company party. He had seemed pleasant enough, even complimentary about Isolde and our marriage, a wolf in sheep's clothing. I spent the next few hours in a daze, rereading the messages, trying to make sense of it all. How could she? Why would she do this to me? We had a good life. We had everything we could ever want, or so I thought. That evening, Isolde came home, her face flushed from a successful day at work. She greeted me with a kiss, oblivious to the turmoil raging inside me. I forced a smile, trying to act normal, but my voice cracked as I asked her about her day. "It was great," she said, her eyes sparkling. "Jasper closed the deal. We're celebrating tonight, celebrating." The word echoed in my head, a cruel mockery of our life together. "Celebrating with Jasper?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Isolde's smile faltered. "Yes," she said, her eyes narrowing. "Is there a problem?" I couldn't hold it in any longer. I grabbed her work phone and thrust it into her hands. "Read it," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "Read what you've been doing behind my back." Isolde's face paled as she scrolled through the messages. Her eyes darted back and forth, searching for an explanation, a way out, but there was none. The evidence was irrefutable. "Barnaby," she stammered, her voice choked with emotion. "Don't," I said, cutting her off. "Just don't. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't want to hear your lies." She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It just happened. It just happened," I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You just happened to book a hotel room with another man. You just happened to exchange explicit messages with him. Is that what you're telling me?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. The truth was staring us both in the face. I spent the night in the spare bedroom, the rain still pounding against the windows, a relentless reminder of the storm inside me. Sleep was impossible. My mind raced with questions, doubts, and recriminations. Had she ever loved me? Was our entire marriage a lie? The next few weeks were a blur. We barely spoke. We moved around each other like ghosts in our own home. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional sob from Isolde or the slamming of a door from me. I consulted with a lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Winifred, who advised me to gather as much evidence as possible. She suggested hiring a private investigator to document Isolde's affair. I hesitated. The thought of spying on my own wife felt distasteful, but I knew it was necessary. I needed to know the full extent of her betrayal. The private investigator, a gruff but efficient man named Sylvester, provided me with damning evidence. Photos of Isolde and Jasper entering and leaving the Hotel Monaco, hand in hand. Credit card statements showing expensive dinners and gifts. The evidence was overwhelming. The affair was not a one-time mistake. It was a calculated and ongoing betrayal. Armed with this evidence, I confronted Isolde again. This time there was no room for denial. She confessed everything. She admitted that she had been unhappy for a long time, that she felt neglected and unappreciated. She said that Jasper had made her feel alive again, that he had given her the attention and validation she craved. I listened in stunned silence, my heart breaking with each word. I had always tried to be a good husband. I had worked hard to provide for her, to support her dreams. How could she say that I had neglected her? How could she justify her betrayal with such flimsy excuses? "I'm leaving," I said, my voice cold and detached. "I can't do this anymore. I can't live with you. I can't even look at you." Isolde begged me to stay, to give her another chance. She promised to end the affair, to go to therapy, to do whatever it took to save our marriage. But it was too late. The trust was broken, irrevocably shattered. There was no going back. I moved out of our house and into my small apartment. The silence was deafening, but it was a welcome relief from the constant tension and recriminations. I filed for divorce, and the process was swift and brutal. Isolde didn't contest anything. She seemed resigned to her fate. As the divorce proceedings moved forward, I learned more about Jasper. He was a serial cheater, a man who preyed on vulnerable women. He had a string of affairs in different cities, leaving a trail of broken hearts and shattered lives in his wake. I felt a surge of anger, not just at Isolde, but at Jasper as well. He had manipulated her, taken advantage of her vulnerability. He had destroyed our marriage. I decided to take action. I contacted some of Jasper's other victims, women who had been similarly betrayed. Together, we compiled a dossier of evidence, documenting his pattern of infidelity and manipulation. We presented this evidence to Jasper's company, and he was promptly fired. But that wasn't enough. I wanted him to face legal consequences for his actions. I consulted with Winifred, and she advised me that I could sue Jasper for alienation of affection, a legal claim that allows a spouse to sue a third party for interfering with their marriage. It was a long and arduous process, but I was determined to see it through. I wanted Jasper to pay for what he had done. I wanted him to understand the pain and suffering he had caused. In the end, I won the lawsuit. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding me a significant sum in damages. It wasn't about the money. It was about justice. It was about holding Jasper accountable for his actions. As for Isolde, she lost everything. Her reputation was tarnished, her career was in shambles, and she was ostracized by her friends and family. She tried to contact me several times, begging for forgiveness, but I refused to speak to her. I knew that forgiving her would be the right thing to do, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. The pain was too deep, the betrayal too profound. Maybe someday I would be able to forgive her, but not now. I spent the next few years rebuilding my life. I focused on my career, my friends, and my hobbies. I started dating again, but I was cautious and guarded. I was afraid of being hurt again. One day I received a letter from Isolde. She was dying of cancer. She wanted to see me one last time, to apologize for everything she had done. I hesitated. I didn't know if I could face her, but in the end I decided to go. I owed it to myself, if not to her. I found her in a hospital bed, pale and frail. She looked like a shadow of her former self. "Barnaby," she whispered, her voice weak. "Thank you for coming." I sat down beside her and took her hand. It was cold and clammy. "I'm so sorry," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "I ruined everything. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday you can find it in your heart to forgive me." I looked at her, at the woman I had once loved, and I saw the pain and regret in her eyes. And in that moment I knew that I had to forgive her. "I forgive you," I said, my voice choked with emotion. She smiled, a weak but genuine smile. "Thank you," she said. "That means everything to me." She died a few days later. I attended her funeral, and I stood by her grave, a silent observer. I felt a sense of closure, a sense of peace. The pain was still there, but it was no longer all-consuming. I had survived the betrayal. I had rebuilt my life. And I had learned a valuable lesson, that even in the darkest of times, forgiveness is possible. It may not be easy, but it is always worth it. Life is unpredictable. Trust is fragile. But even after the most devastating betrayal, healing and forgiveness are possible. It's a long road, filled with pain and uncertainty, but it leads to a place of peace and acceptance. Remember, you are stronger than you think. You can survive anything, and you will find happiness again.